All right, what's going on, everybody? We're back, and we're here today because Ahmet played a comment in the last video that we released about the coffee roasting glitch and said, hey, what about roasting in a pan? So you know what? We're gonna take that challenge and we're gonna tell you how to roast in a pan right here, right now. All right, so let's get into it. What you need is you need a pan, and basically we're gonna use a carbon steel pan today. And this is just a regular carbon steel pan. You can use any size pan you want that'll fit the size of coffee that you're using or the amount of coffee that you're using. Now you can also use things like, this is an anodized aluminum pan. You can use something like that, that'll work fine. What you probably do not want to use is a coated non-stick pan, right? These coated non-stick pans are great for things like eggs, but now we're gonna be roasting coffee in it way past the normal temperature that you would cook eggs in, which could lead to some kind of leaching out of the surface or damage to the surface. I would just say don't use it at all. Now, if you want to use a stainless steel pan, that's fine as well. If you want to use cast iron, that's perfectly fine. I just have to have carbon steel here at the roastery, so that's what we're going to use. And I'm cooking this now on a butane burner, one of the portable ones. So I'm going to replace it. Oh, actually, that looks pretty good. All right, so we're going to use that. We're going to turn it on, give it full heat, and we're going to heat the pan and bring it to temperature. Now, how much temperature do we need to bring it to? Actually, I don't really know. We're going to find out. This is really not something that I do on a regular basis. I normally use this roaster. And what we're measuring with the roaster is the actual air temperature rather than the surface temperature of the drum. And so the big difference here is that inside a drum, while it may be cast iron or carbon steel, the drum is constantly rotating, right? And there's paddles welded to the inside that essentially throw the beans into like a cascading wave throughout the roasting process. So while there is surface contact with the drum to the bean itself, that surface contact is always fleeting because it's always rolling, right? In this case, it's going to be constant contact. So we have to use agitation by means of a wooden spoon in order to compensate for that and to keep it going. And if we don't keep continuous motion, we're going to have scorching of the coffee, and that's something we don't want. So we don't really want this surface temperature to get too hot. 381 degrees, we're gonna turn it down a little bit. For this particular test, we're going to be using 50 grams of this Sonkole Natural Guji grade #1 from Addis Exporters. And this is an Ethiopian natural processed coffee. Well, we're starting to get it to smoke, so let's turn that down a little bit. Maybe wave it out, get a little bit cooler. One thing you don't want to do is you don't really want to do this inside. If you do this inside, the thing about roasting coffee is it produces a tremendous amount of smoke. And if you do this inside your house, whoever you live with is going to be upset. So what we need to do is we're also going to try to moderate the heat of this. I'm also going to grab the timer, so we're going to time up just so that we have an idea of how long it's going to take us. All right, let's go for it. We're going to do it. Coffee in, timer starting. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to keep the coffee rolling. As you can see, these are kind of pea berries. Ooh, this is going to be a nice coffee. And I decided to go with the Ethiopian coffee natural because you know what? This is the style of cooking, of roasting coffee that a lot of Ethiopians, well, that they still use in Ethiopia today to roast their coffee, especially for the traditional coffee ceremony. So you definitely want to keep agitation, and you should be paranoid about not letting it sit because you'll get scorching and it won't be very pleasant. And if you get scorching, you get those kind of acrid notes and it's burned and it's just not pleasant. Now we're starting to get some aromas coming from the coffee. As you can see, the color is slowly starting to, see there's a little bit of scorching now. See that? A little bit of scorching, so I need to reduce the heat. Unfortunately, in this one, I can't reduce too much. We're only a minute into it, so this is much faster than it would be in a coffee roaster, or maybe in a coffee roaster that was superheated. So I'm Right now I'm gonna roll and keep the heat on, but I'm gonna keep it above the flame just because I don't want it to get overheated. I don't really know if this is the right technique. I think when you watch the women who do the coffee ceremony, they do it much more, they have much more finesse than I do. I really have not done this very often, maybe once before. So I'm actually using the cooking technique of, I don't even know what they call it, but like the flipping technique to just keep the coffee rolling. I'm trying to keep the coffee rolling, trying to keep it from being too long on the surface of, oh, you know what, I'm going to use that pot. I was just thinking I don't really have a vessel to put it in. Now, as you can see, there's some definite darkening in particular spots. Look at that. Now we're definitely getting to a yellow phasing. The aromas are really lovely at this time. So as you can see, some of them are browning faster than others. Oh, that must be the cracking. So the important thing to remember is keeping it constant motion, which in a heavier, you know, cast iron or even this carbon steel is rather difficult. You gotta have muscles. But as you can see here, the coffee is getting some different coloration. It's not roasting at the same speed, even though these are uniform beans from the same batch, same varietal. We would like to see more even roasting, but this is kind of typical what you'd see from the Ethiopian coffee ceremony type of roasting. Now we're starting to see some chaff coming off of the coffee. So the chaff is the silver skin that is integral to the coffee until you roast it, and then it starts to come off. When you're in a coffee roaster, this is actually blown into the chaff collector, so hopefully you don't have to deal with it as much. Oh, this is getting heavy. Good thing I didn't use a cast iron pot for this because that would have been very unhappy. So now we're definitely getting a lot of chaff separation. Definitely a good workout for your arms. Biceps, forceps. Forceps. It's part of, I don't know, forceps. Forceps are those, yeah, never mind. All right, so as you can see, there is some unevenness in the coloration. Like some of these are really pretty. We're now 4 minutes, 40 seconds into our roast. Again, we always want to have constant agitation or constant motion of the beans so that we're not going to have any, you know, tipping or scorching of the beans. We really want to try to avoid that. That really makes it unpleasant. Now, when do you stop? The question of stopping really is a matter of style and preference, like how light, how dark you want your coffee. I'd like to get all of the coffee past this really light stage. And the smoke is definitely getting more productive now. It's a little bit heavier in this room. I do have a fan here, exhaust port, above the roaster, but I don't have it on at the moment because it tends to make a lot of noise, which makes it harder to record sound so that you can hear my wisdom and expertise speaking. And we know that's why you tune in, right? Oh, this is méthode française. Now we're getting really with some of them are really starting to get to the medium. I'm kind of tempted to stop here. Yeah, I think we should stop here because I don't want the other ones to get too So 617 is our stopping point. I'm going to put that down, shut that off, and now it's a matter of cooling. So I'm going to use this fan here from the roaster to help us cool. It's probably going to blow stuff everywhere. As you can see, chaff is now coming out, and chaff just gets everywhere, and you know, it's all right. But again, we want to keep it moving just so that it cools quickly. We would like to bring the cooling, so in a typical coffee roasting situation, we want the cooling to happen in about 4 minutes. You know, that gives us the right amount of cooling down so that it doesn't elongate the roasting time and contribute to baked notes. But this is a nice light amount of coffee. So, whoops. The nice thing about having the fan is I can blow the chaff off. Of course, it's falling on my table and on the floor, and I'm gonna now have to clean it. But you know, these are the things that we do for all of you out there in YouTube world. Thank you very much for watching. Really appreciate you being here, all that kind of stuff. Oh, losing the beans. All right, so this is 50 grams green of the Ethiopia Guji Grade 1 from the Sonkole region of Ethiopia. All right, so there it is. Here is the results. As you can see, the color of the beans, it's a little bit uneven, and that's to be expected. Probably partially, like this is a really light one compared to the rest. These could be like Quakers or just off-colored beans from, oh, actually, probably not. Look at this. So if we look at this side, right, this has got a nice brown to it. This has a lighter brown to it. That's, again, because it's failed to rotate evenly. So it looks like these coffees are really nicely graded. But this is going to be some of the problems you're going to receive or experience when you're doing pan roasting. You're going to get uneven coloration just because you're just not able to keep it rotating as well as you would inside a drum roaster or even an air roaster. So there it is. How to roast in a pan your coffee. There's the challenge, accepted and shown. Hope that helps, Ahmet. If you have any questions, let me know. If you have any suggestions for future videos, put them in the comments down below, and we'll see you next time.